Hi everybody, and welcome to our AP Lazer workshop on this wonderful Friday afternoon. What we're going to be doing today and talking about today is we're going to be taking a couple different images actually and bridging our CorelDRAW with our Corel Photo Paint and kind of showcasing some of the advantages of doing so. One of the things I really like doing with Corel on this aspect is really just going through and using some of the tools that we would use for photo editing. Give me a second here, I got my speaker on, there we go. Being able to use some of those tools we use for photo editing for maybe say a vector image, or say we are wanting to set up a photo and maybe do something a little bit different with it as far as maybe doing some curved text around there and that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in here, and I'll kind of show you some of the images that we're working with here. So the first one, of course, we're going to be doing a photo of my daughter. Everybody knows how much I love my daughter, and she's so photogenic and so easy to photo engrave. So we're going to be processing this photo, and then we're also going to be using a little bit of a Dr. Seuss cat in the hat kind of image. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my CorelDRAW, and as always, we're going to go ahead and start a new project or new document, and we're just going to call this our bridge test here. So I'm going to set up everything like I normally would. I'm going to increase my size up here to like a 12 by 12 working area. And we can leave our DPI at 300. Now, if you're going to be doing this for photos and things like that, I would go ahead and change this. But if you happen to forget, I'll show you there's a couple other spots where we can change this DPI to lower it down for a photograph. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So the first thing I kind of want to show you is vector arts. I know everybody has had these vector arts, whether it's been given to you by a customer, or you found something, you purchased something online, or you found an image that you wanted to work with online. And a lot of times they come real low resolution. You have a hard time getting them traced, and a lot of back and forth going through. I just so happen to have one of these type of images, so I'm going to go ahead and come up to my import. Look on our desktop, and here's my cat in the hat fish. Oh, well, that one's not letting me in here. Tell you what, let's see if we can try to Google one real quick. My internet's a little bit spotty here, but all right, here's one here. Just going to go ahead and right click, copy image. If I got it there. Oh, didn't quite get it there. So I'm going to right click, copy, come back in here and paste. So this is our image right here. So if we're trying to trace this out, and we come up to our trace bitmap function here, and let's just say do a line. So you can see this was almost a photo taken of this picture. You can kind of see the flash mark down here. So we're going to process this through, see what kind of errors that we have. And of course, my computer's wanting to go a little bit slow today. Now again, just kind of going back to what I was talking about, like when you're finding images online, you always want to try to find something nice and crisp, something that's going to trace out well, or a different file format. But honestly, in a real life scenario, that's not always possible. Customers are going to give you logos, they're going to give you certain images, and they just may not be at the highest quality, and they may not have anything else to give you. So basically what we're going to do with this image, we're going to kind of trace it out to kind of see what it looks like here, and then I'm going to take you back in through Paint and show you how to fix these without necessarily having to jump back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. And I'm going to slide this over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up my Properties tab, or my Docker. If you don't have that here, you can come up to Window, down to Dockers, and add it in this way. So we're going to go ahead and add in a hairline here, and then I'm going to drop the fill out of it. So when we look into this, we see all of this stuff through here, okay? This is not going to give us a really good image here, or as far as a vector image goes, okay? We're going to have to go through and do a lot of cleanup on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to move this up, copy him up there, and I'm going to select this image here. So next to our trace bitmap function over here is actually our edit bitmap. So once I click on this, this is going to bring this image now into our Corel Photo Paint. All right, here we go. So here's our image in Paint. And so again, what we can do in here is we can use some of the tools that we would normally use on correcting a photo to try to help correct this vector image. So I can do things like come up to Effects, or Adjust actually, and we're going to go ahead and desaturate this and just turn it into a black and white. And one of the things that I like to do, and we'll take a look down here at this bottom where you can kind of see that flash was going on, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my left-hand side toolbar, and I'm going to grab my Paint tool. All right. Up at the top left here, I have my different options as far as whether I want an art brush, stencil, and a lot of times I will go back and forth just depending on the image that I'm working with. So we're going to go ahead and select Airbrush here, and I'm going to go ahead and change my nib, and I'm going to do a little bit of a shadowed one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click just to see. Looks like I got a white color. So I'm going to come over here to my color bar. I'm going to select black. But now what I can do is I can actually come in here and paint this. And I can darken this up. So again, when you're having certain vector images, coming in here and trying to paint this to make these lines a little bit darker, no glare, and clean up some of the stuff maybe on the inside. Now, depending on what you're selling or what you're making, sometimes this may not be worth all this hassle, but I at least want to be able to show everybody this function. I have used this function quite a few times over different projects and different types of images. So again, I'm just going to kind of come down here, and I'm really just kind of getting rid of that glare there. A little off there, but not too bad. So what else I can do, now that I've kind of got this darkened up, got that glare out of there, is I can actually come back over, and I'm going to select white now, and just kind of come in here and clean this up. So you can kind of see some of these small fragments around here. Kind of fix up where I kind of went off a little bit. All right. I'm going to go back to black, kind of touch up a few spots down here. All right, so now that I'm done kind of editing that, making that line a lot darker, I'm going to come up here to Finish Editing. I'm going to go ahead and make changes to that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And we can just minimize that. So you can see already between these two images here how I was able to make a change to it. So we can see I've got rid of that glare down there. So now let's go ahead and trace this image. Take a few seconds here. And then after we kind of showcase this, what I'm going to do is we're going to jump over to do some photo editing next. And I think that's what we're going to actually run our project on for today. A couple more seconds here. All right, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. I'm going to bring this one over. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on my first trace. I'm going to go ahead and drop that color out and add in a hairline. So now when we zoom in, you can see the difference between the insides here. Now I can take it a little bit more time, really fine tune that in. But again, it was kind of a quick, easy way. We could have used our segment delete, go through and try to delete all these lines. That's kind of time consuming on it. So again, just kind of a few different options for you. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at some photo stuff. So what I have available is I have a nice round piece of slate. It's about 10 inch by 10 inch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my toolbar. I'm going to find my Ellipse Tool. Draw out a circle here. I'm going to grab my Pick Tool on my left-hand side. I'm going to leave my ratio unlocked, and then I'm just going to adjust this down to 10 by 10. All right. We're going to come back over to our properties now. I'm going to grab my Fill tool, and I'm just going to fill that in black. Next, let's go ahead and bring in my image. On our desktop. All right. Now this photo here, again, I wanted to use some real life scenarios here for you. So I did not take this picture. This picture actually is of my daughter from daycare. I've got a little app so I can monitor what's going on. They share photos. So this photo came in from the app, and we can see the size right here. A little about 2 3/4 by 3.5 almost. So I'm going to go ahead and increase that size a little bit. And then with this selected here, I'm going to again go up to Edit Bitmap. And here we are here. Now when you do this, the image is going to come in as your background. And so if we go look at some of our videos through Paint, we normally set that background as black or white. This one is just the image. So what I actually want to do with this is I'm actually going to duplicate it just like I normally would. So I'm going to right click, come down here to duplicate, and then I'm going to turn this background off. This is going to allow me just to edit this photo here. So let's go ahead and let's take this image and let's go through our cutout lab. And we're just going to start tracing around. All right. Remember, when we trace around an image, we want to make sure this is complete and connected. No breaks. And then I'm going to come over to the right-hand side where my fill is and just fill in like so. Go ahead and hit OK. So now what I can do is I can actually, now I've kind of isolated that, I can bring this image down and I'm still inside my working area here. So we're going to grab our eraser tool over here in the left-hand side. Personal preference here, I like to use this shadowed one. It's kind of my go-to nib size there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my marquee on. So my object marquee is right here. So what that does is it adds in that little blue line that's coming through there. So you know that when you're going through and cleaning up, you can see certain spots of the photo left over that you may not notice. I'm going to just try to get as close to the image as absolutely possible. Now I am going to put a mask around this, so I'm not going to worry about cleaning too much up below the waist here, just kind of up around the head area. Very similar to that. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a mask out because I just kind of keep this round. So I'm going to come over to the left-hand side toolbar. I'm going to grab my masking tool, and I'm going to hit my little sub-menu, that little black triangle there, and grab my ellipse. I'm going ahead and draw that out. So right below my masking tool is my mask transform tool. What this does is allows me to move this around and then resize if I need to. And my sizing is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and make this like a 5 by 5. And then I can kind of position in here. Let's say about in there looks good. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my object one. I'm going to right click. And typically what we would do here is we would go to Object, Clip Mask, Create, From Mask. This function here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to crop Object to Mask, which gets rid of any of this extra stuff here. Remember what a mask is, okay? A mask is just that. It's kind of like taking a photo, taking some construction paper, cutting a circle out of that construction paper, and then overlaying it over your photo. You're not editing that photo. You're not getting rid of the background or anything like that. Now, when we actually crop to our mask, what we are doing, or we are damaging that photo. We are getting rid of any of that stuff below there, which is why I now have this nice round circle here. So from here, I can go ahead and adjust maybe like the tone curve. Make this baby a tad bit darker here. Okay. I can still use all of my photo editing tools. So if I need to sharpen up certain areas, I can use my effects tool here. One area that I like to do a lot of is, especially with kids, because again, they don't have a lot of those facial features that the rest of us have gotten over age, the smile lines, the crow feet, the gray. So going through and trying to highlight certain different areas with children, hair, eyes, mouth, clothes, those kinds of things there. Sharpen this up a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and desaturate this. All right. So now that I'm done editing, what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on Finish Editing. We're going to save our changes. All right. And so here we are here. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this image and kind of put in the middle of my circle here. So what I want to do now is actually I want to do some curved text around here. So I'm going to come over here to my left-hand side toolbar and then grab my text tool. Now, when we're doing curved text, there's two real ways to do this, okay? If I have my shape drawn, I can come right up to where it says quadrant, and I have that little squiggle underneath there, and I can actually drop my cursor right there. The other option is I can just come up to the top and click. Go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the font here while I'm at it. There we go there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select my text. I'm going to hold my Shift key down and select my circle. From here I can go up to text and then fit text to path. And it's going to put it right around there. Now, this is a black background, so I am going to want that font white. So I'm going to select my text, make it white. But now what I can actually do is I can actually bring this inside here. I really like this function in CorelDRAW when you're doing curved letters or text, where I can just bring it in like so. Now what's really nice here, as I start sliding this in, you can see up at the top here in blue of it telling me how far away from this edge I'm going. And it's adjusting my text as I come in or out. Now I know with the slate that I'm working with, it's got some chipped edges around here, which bringing this in and showing me that distance, it really is coming in handy because I know there's a little bit of a gap there, probably about a 1/4 inch, so I can bring that text in to make sure that I'm staying away from that chipped edge. Now that we did that one there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the bottom now, and I'll do the other way to do curved text. So I'm there on my bottom. I'm going to go ahead and click, and we'll just do birthday here. And again, with that text selected, I'm going to come over to my color bar. I'm going to make that white. Now I need to flip that inside of my circle. Up at the top here, under our menu bars, is how we mirror our vertical text. So I'm going to flip it up, and then flip it around the other way. And again, if I increase this up, this is going to stay right on my circle here. And again, we can bring this up, and you can see that blue line going around the outside where it's circling around the name, letting us know that that's about the same distance that we had there. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and take this entire photo, and we're going to go ahead and export it out as a BMP file. So I'm going to go up to File and Export. Put this on our desktop. We have a Windows bitmap. Export out. That's okay. All right. So again, I had said that when we change the DPI, if you left that DPI at 300 on your startup screen here, once we go to export it as a BMP, we can change the DPI here. So we can do 150. Now, typically, if we were doing some kind of vector art BMP or just simple text, oftentimes we would take this color mode and switch it to black and white. Because we're doing a photo, we want to make sure that RGB 24-bit is still present. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. All right. So we're going to go ahead and minimize this now, and let's go jump into PhotoGrave here. So PhotoGrave, very simple, easy program to learn. You're basically just working left to right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the image. And here we go here. I'm going to select my material. I'm going to be doing slate, so I'm actually going to select this little bit of a softer stone, which is going to be more like black marble instead of black granite. Go ahead and hit OK. Now, if you happen, again, if you had bypassed the first adjustment of that DPI, you missed the second one. If you come here to resize image, you can adjust your DPI here again without adjusting your size. So the first thing we want to do, now that we're in our interactive mode, is I'm going to change my machine DPI to match my image. All right, there we go. Zoom in, take a look here. All right. So I've got my gamma here. She looks a little dark. So I'm going to go ahead and use my gamma under my grayscale adjustments to bring up there we go. Make it just a little bit lighter. And I am going to bump my extent up. Just again, because she is only 3 and doesn't have a lot of facial details, adding in this extent is just going to highlight some of these things like around her hair, her mouth, and her clothing. So let's go ahead and final process this. I'm going to save our image. Right to our desktop. All right. So we're going to minimize this now, and we'll go ahead and open up our RDWorks, and we'll go ahead and import in our image. All right. Now, when you export out a BMP file, okay, whether that BMP file is round, it's square, it's triangle, regardless, it is always going to come out in a square shape here, okay? So if we were using a square rectangle piece of slate and I set it square or drew my box out, filled it in black, then this would be perfectly fine. Because I'm doing something round and I am still having to send it out as a BMP, it is changing this background color to black. Now, the downside to doing this type of process is that the laser machine is going to want to pass through each one of these, okay, as it's going to want to try to engrave this. If I've sized this out correctly, this is going to miss my piece of slate altogether and just kind of engrave on the outside of it. Now, with that being said, that is going to increase your engrave time a little bit more than what you would typically run. Because I'm doing something round as well, I want to make sure that I'm centered. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky making sure that you're absolute centered in here. So one of the tricks that I like to do is I come over here in my Corel or my RDWorks, and I'm going to grab my Ellipse Tool. We're going to go ahead and draw a circle out. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to go ahead and make that 10 by 10. All right. And I'm going to assign it a new layer. We'll say red. So now I want to make sure that this circle is going to overlap over this one. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything, and then up at the top here is where we can center things at to make sure that, again, that circle is going to snap right there. Bring this back over centered a little bit. So that circle that I drew, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to turn that into a cut, but a cut with no power. So I'm going to double click on my red layer here. We're going to make this into a cut. I'm going to do a 1 speed and 0 power. All right. I'm going to come over to my BMP. Go ahead and set. Looks like that already came in. 28 speed, 21 power, with an interval of a 0.0067 or DPI of 150. Go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to come up to config now, system setting, and make sure that my laser head origin is set for center. All right. So I'm going to turn my scan off, so output to no, and then my laser cut to yes. Again, no power, 1 speed. We're going to go ahead and download this. All right. So now let's go ahead and jump over to our machine and take a look. All right. So I've already gone ahead and measured out my piece of slate here. You can see I've got my masking tape. I am going to go ahead, because it's a photo, I like to run my photos with an 1.5" lens. You are able to do this with a 2" lens as well, if that's all you have. I just find with small detail, I get a little bit better result out of the 1.5". So let's go ahead and get into focus here. We're in focus. Now I'm just a little bit off, so I'm just going to go ahead and slide my material over. So I'm going to hit my origin button next. And we're going to go ahead and close our lid here, and we're going to hit start on our cut. And what that's going to do is actually just going to draw that line around, so I can watch my red dot to see if I need to adjust this at all. So my red dot is staying right on the outside. It's kind of hard to see that red dot through the camera there, but it's staying right on the outside of my circle there. Look good on the top, bottom, sides. All right, back to center. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape. I'm going to put my hand on the material and just very carefully peel back my tape. All right, so I'm going to jump over to my computer real quick, and I'm going to switch around my cut and my scan. And go ahead and re-download. I got a storm coming through, and I'm running off of my connection through Wi-Fi here. Try this again. All right, let's go ahead and switch this back off. Go back to my USB real quick. There we go. All right. So we'll jump back over to our machine. Go ahead and close our lid now. And we'll hit start. So that's going to take probably about 15 minutes to run there. So while that's going back on, I see my chat. Everyone talking. All right. And Scott had made a comment at the very beginning of the video, and is kind of asking to see if we can do a video over recipes using Lightbird. Absolutely, sir. If anybody has any suggestions over things you would like to see that we don't already have a video over, or you just like to see a repeat video, by all means, shoot me an email. You can always reach me at jason@aplazer.com. That's JASON @aplazer.com. Yeah, anything that you guys would love to see, I'll be more than happy to make content for. So I'm going to kind of scroll back down here. So if anybody's got any questions here whatsoever, please feel free to jump in the chat box, and I'll try to get them answered as quick as possible here. I got Frank on here. If none of you guys have ever met Frank from Pop's Custom Signs and Laser Designs, he is a fantastic feller. I've met him, I had the pleasure of meeting him in person down in Orlando. I had a great time doing it. One of these days I'm going to work on trying to get him up here to Lansing. to kind of work with us, trying to show you some of his processes and things like that. But Frank he's a unique customer. He's an excellent person. He's got a lot of knowledge, and he's always willing to help. If you're ever on a user group, you're going to see him posting a lot of answers and questions and things like that. And feel free. I know Prop will agree with me. You know, go to him with anything. He's more than happy to help you out at any time. So again, if you guys have any questions over this, or you want me to kind of go back, I know we've kind of sped through this a little bit quicker than I'd normally like to, but I really just wanted to highlight like the different functions you can use. I mean, it's not just vector images, it's not just photographs. You can do a variety of different types of things. One reason that I wanted to showcase this process as well is if you're into monuments or you're doing monuments, there's a program out there called DesignMart. And what DesignMart actually has is a bridge connector into CorelDRAW, so you can actually do full monument layouts and things like that. And I was working with one particular customer about a week or so ago, and he was saying that, you know, he thought he had to go back to Paint in order to do all these things. And I was like, no, we can just real quickly set up in here. And that's what kind of gave me the idea to possibly do a video like this. All right, we'll take a look at, we're moving along pretty well. So again, if you guys have any questions, please pop them on here. Let me see, our date's coming out pretty well so far. That was the easy part though. Let's see how we do with this photo. All right, moving along, getting close to that halfway point there. Now, I do want to talk about one quick thing too as well while we're out here kind of doing a lot of tips and tricks today. But when it comes to text, fonts, things like that, if you notice I changed the font type when I went to do the date on here instead of the other font that I was working with. Now, the font that I had purchased, this was 100% free font. I didn't need to pay anything. I have full licensing rights, all that fun stuff. But on some of these fonts that you find that look really, really cool, they may be missing certain things like numbers, certain symbols, periods, question marks, things like that. When you go to install that, always keep an eye out for that, okay? If you find something you really like that doesn't have numbers and dates, I would just find a similar font to try to blend it in. Of course, changing them up gives you a really nice look as well. All right, we got a couple questions on here. So I'm asking, what would the power and speed settings be for the 2616? Really about the same on there. I typically may run a little bit slower, a little bit more higher power. This is a 100-watt machine that we are using compared to the 60-watt machine. But honestly, there shouldn't be a whole lot of adjustments on there. As always, I do recommend testing out. Poster board is a great, inexpensive material that gives you very, very similar results to granite and slate. And you can get a big sheet for 89 cents and etch all over it. If you're looking to find good settings, there is a file on everybody's laptop from AP Lazer, and it's called a tiger image, and it's an engravable image, photographic image that you can use for a variety of different type of products to try to dial in to get the look that you're looking for. I know that was kind of a roundabout question there, or answer, but again, I would probably start off at like maybe a 20, 25 speed, maybe anywhere from 18 to 23 power, and see how that goes. I've got Ben on here. Ben, you're making me nervous, man. I'm really excited to see these results too. So this is a really good question I'm being asked here. Are power and speed slightly different on different size machines? They have a 2816. They use info from that's in the manual. So the manual is, the answer is yes. You're always going to see a slight difference in speed and power settings between the different machines, especially on the lower wattage ones. You know, on a 100-watt machine, I don't need to burn nearly as hot as, say, I may need to do on like a 30-watt or a 60-watt, so the 1812 or 2616. So I always recommend starting off with the suggested speed and power settings and just adjusting accordingly. When I say adjusting accordingly, what I would do is if you think the image looks blown out, not a lot of detail, start by lowering your power down, okay? Once you adjusted your power down, you're still not getting good results. I would then go through and try to adjust your speed settings. Now, one thing I want to point out too, we covered this before in Lightburn, and I've touched base before with RDWorks. Once you have these settings down pat, what you can do is come in here into RDWorks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click on my mode to bring up my layer parameters. Up at the top here, we have this parameter library. Okay, so if I click that, I can actually save these settings for based off material, whatever the case may be. You can see I've got photo on slate, acrylic engraving, acrylic cutting for 1/8 inch thick, mirrors, tumblers, all that stuff. So if I come in here and say change the speed and power setting to, let's say, 10 and 45. Say we're going to do a tumbler here. And 300 DPI. Okay? And I want to go back to doing slate now. Now that I have those settings tested out, I have them saved, all I have to do is come inside here, go to my parameter library, select photo slate, and hit load, and all of my settings are going to come right inside there. So I have different settings saved for different materials, for engraving, cutting, even test speed. So if I want to test something out on poster board, if I want to test it out on tape, save all those settings. It's just going to save you a world of headache of trying to remember what you did last time. So I've got Scott asking if I prepared the slate with anything or just clean it. I actually did both. So what I like to do a lot of time with the slate, just bare, it kind of has like a white kind of powder on it. I just took a magic eraser, wiped it off. And then what I actually did is I used this product here, which is a Rust-Oleum clear acrylic lacquer. What this does is I coat this before engraving, and what it does is gives it a nice shine to it. Slate is kind of a dull, kind of grayish rock. So once I coat it with this, it really makes it shine and pop out and will do wonders to your engraving. Always coat it first, let it dry, then go ahead and engrave it. All right, just about finished up here. So far, so good. All right, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to throw them out there. Sure I haven't missed any questions here. Again, any questions over this video or any of our other videos that we have on here? Please feel free to, type in the chat box here, or, again, you guys have any suggestions over videos you would like to see, content you would like to see made, please feel free to email me, call me. Actually, email is probably the best. Again, my email address is Jason, Jason, at aplazer.com. That is laser with a Z. Someone asked if I took this cone off my lens. No, I did not. The 1.5-inch lens comes with a shorter nub cone just to get a little bit closer. And really, you know, when we're talking about the different types of lenses and things like that, if you haven't already, I would highly recommend purchasing a lens kit. What comes standard with all of our machines is the 2-inch lens, which is kind of a general purpose. Does well with engravings, does well with cuttings. But if you're wanting a little bit more fine detail, the 1.5 is really the way to go. It has a very fine beam size. If you're learning to do bricks and things like that, even wood engraving, I do recommend typically the 3-inch lens. Gives a little bit bigger dot size, burns a little bit hotter. And then, of course, if you're doing a curved surface like a whiskey barrel casket, I would recommend having a 4-inch lens. All right, just about finished here. I got to jump up, take a look at it, and then we'll bring it back to see what our results are. All right. All right, let's take a look what we have here. All right. So I got it on the table here. We'll take a look. And you see we got some really nice detail here. I could have probably spent a little bit more time doing some editing on this to really make it pop out a lot better. But overall, I think we did a pretty good job. Could have probably made that photo a little bit bigger as well. That kind of would have helped with the detail a little bit more, make it pop out. So we'll go ahead and leave this kind of open here a little bit longer if anybody has any more questions. I know there's a little bit of a lag before I let people type and jump off here. All right. Well, if nobody has any more questions or anything like that, thank you, Frank. Little girl's got me wrapped around her finger. But if nobody else has any questions or anything, I do appreciate you all joining me today. Again, I always have fun with this stuff. I love especially engraving things with my daughter on it, obviously. But again, I can't stress enough, if you guys ever have any questions over any of these processes, any of the things we do in this class, please feel free to give our tech support team a call at 844-364-8211. They're always more than welcome to help. Or always shoot me an email. I'm always willing to answer questions if I can or point you in the right direction on things. So until next time, everybody, I hope you have a great Friday and have a better weekend. Bye, everybody.